Hi, this is Eyes Pried Open. My name is Nestor Sebastian Miranda. This is my co-host.
Are you like dead inside? What's happening here?
And,
Hi, my
and,
name. I'm
and this
hosting a.
is
I'm
the
hosting a
show.
show. We're doing the thing.
Hi, hello. How are you doing?
Oh boy, that's a great intro. Welcome to Eyes Pried Open, folks. The show where Sebastian here shows me films that I would have never seen otherwise. Today, this week, we watch Frankenstein and The Bride of Frankenstein. We did a little double feature for Halloween. Happy
Yes.
Halloween, everybody. Or
Yes.
happy October.
It's for spooky time.
It is spooky time.
I wanted to do it as a double feature because these movies are very much in conversation with each other. You really can't talk about one without talking about the other, so I think it was best to pair the two. And also, they're very short. One is 75 minutes, one is 77 minutes. So I did space them out. We didn't watch them one directly after the other so that Brian could have more of like a distinct impression of each as well.
I needed a little bit of recovery time in between.
First movie came out in 1931. Second one came out in 1935. These movies are over 90 years old.
And it feels that way. The thing that holds up the best is definitely the cinematography and the lighting. I was just kind of blown away by the fact that like that hasn't changed. Like a good shot is a good shot.
No matter what
And
decade you're in.
yeah, good lighting is good lighting. The thing that I noticed that has changed is the conventions of editing. Is that I feel like we kind of constrict ourselves more with which shot we can cut from one to the next. Like I noticed there was a lot of not as much 80-degree, but more like 30-degree breaks where
Yeah.
they jump from something that is from the same angle from like a wide to like a medium or a tight.
Yeah, they do. I
And
mean,
that,
it can add to like a kind of a creepiness to it. Like
yeah, it's a little
first
bit of an unsettling feeling,
the first
but
time we see the monster, it is like you get like three cuts that are all cutting in. We start with like a wide, then a medium, then a tight. And it's all from like that same perspective, and we just slowly zoom in on this like this monster's face, and we get a good look at the makeup and such. It's yeah, but you're right. There's like a uniqueness to it, and there's like sometimes there's a bit of jankiness to it. You know, there's another factor to these movies is the fact that it's like they would only show them once and stuff, and you would only see them like in a theater. So, like what is it? We have on in the conventions of the internet and stuff. There's like a difference because it's like we can kind of like go back and forth and like study these scenes.
yeah, you couldn't just like catch this on FX in a couple months.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. So like people weren't like analyzing every frame, although they were. I mean, people liked these movies, but they didn't have the same ways to like accessibilities
let me
to like
ask you something.
analyze it.
Let me ask you something, Mister All Arbiter of filmmaking. Um, were there film critics back then? Like this early? Like were there people that went in with the specific intention of like criticizing the art, or was it just too new?
Oh, it was. I mean, was it
It was
film?
too new, or there were
There
critics?
were critics. Film wasn't that old at this point. You have to imagine there was an entire decade like before this of just silent films. You know,
Ah,
there's like
okay.
a whole like what is it like decade of movie making. And then before that, like in the before the 1920s, there was still like short films being made
So
before like what we consider feature length films. You
this was
know,
one of the first talkies, as they
talkies.
called
Yeah,
them.
which is a funny term.
The only reason why I know that term is from regular show, is that Pops in regular show, like he just threw that line out once, and I was like, oh.
It's kind of interesting to talk about the acting of this time. Obviously, I don't
It's
know.
stage acting.
Acting was very different back then, anyways. Like if you go into the 40s, the acting. Obviously, there's like as time goes on, there's like different advancements and different like ways people act. But like specifically during this time, it was very awkward transition for actors because you had two groups: either people who were coming from silent, and had to suddenly use their voices, which they had never really trained for acting to use before, or they were like people in theater and they had these over the top theatrical performances that were not necessarily designed to screen. I'm wondering, what did you think of the performances of this film? I guess specifically the two leads, Mr. Boris Karloff as the monster and Colin Clive as Dr. Frankenstein.
I have very mixed feelings. On one hand, okay, if you're asking specifically about the monster, I think he did great.
Yeah,
I think that it's very subtle. Like it's not like an overly like it's a very hard thing to get right. Is
Yeah,
to play something that's like not human. I can only imagine.
we're gonna talk more about him during Bride because
Yeah.
obviously he has a lot less to do in this first movie.
Right, but you still see
Yes,
like the fact that he has no lines, you know, it's just grunts like that. It's a hard thing to pull off. It's a
and he does it.
genuinely hard thing to
He
pull
does it
off.
very well.
And the Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein,
Henry Frankenstein.
Henry
It's Victor
Frankenstein.
in the books. And for
Okay.
some reason they changed it to Henry, and then they made his best friend in the movie Victor. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. You know, but first off, let's talk about I didn't give a shit about the friends. I didn't give a shit about the friend that he had and his fiance. Like they were just fucking there for the sake of like, oh, buddy's got a problem, and they had to go to the professor, and I'm worried about my fiance and blah 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 blah.
well, to go and like okay, to back up a bit, I would say that the first movie has, I think, like one of, if not like the best first act of a movie I've ever seen, where there's like a slow build up to this kind of reveal that like an eventual creation of the monster and
Okay,
the man.
maybe a best first scene. Like I did like how we open on a fucking cemetery, and we
Great.
understand that this is a story about death and
And Henry,
reincarnation.
it's
They're pulling a goddamn corpse out of a grave.
it's
You
very
know?
it's very morbid. It's
Yeah.
very macabre in nature. Like you see at the scene where Henry's looking straight at the camera and he's saying he's like
He's just resting, waiting for a new life to come.
Yeah.
you see the craziness in his eyes. That's
Yeah.
what but we see that and then we see him cut down a hanged man as well. Again,
Yeah.
another very morbid image. And
But then I feel like the first act just kind of drags from that point on.
Oh,
You know,
no, I
I
mean-
feel okay. The next couple scenes drag, and then it picks back up again when we see what's his name, fucking hunchback, motherfucker. He's not Igor. Fitch.
Fritz famously
Yeah.
misconstrued. A lot of people believe that the Hunchback assistant's name is Igor, and a lot of like popular like cinema afterwards that kind of parody this movie usually call him Igor, but no, his character's name is Fritz.
Yeah, so Fritz breaks into the university, and like that's a cool scene, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he does his thing. We kind of get a little bit of insight on him.
Yeah.
He's kind of like I was gonna use the word go-getter. What would you call him? I mean, he's a henchman. He does
He's a
henchman
henchman.
things.
A doctor's
Um,
assistant.
Yeah, I thought we were talking about the performances. I think the doctor, and this is easy for me to say in like 2023, it's very overplayed.
The
It is
doctor?
very, yeah, it is Dr. Frankenstein. Like it is
Oh.
very.
Oh no, I love him. I love him. I love just there's like such a insanity to him. And I like first of all, this movie sets up that like from the very beginning, immediately you see those backdrops and stuff, and immediately you get the sense it's like we are not in our world. You know, this is like a fantasy world. This is like an otherworldly reality. You know, you feel like you're in a horror novel. You
I mean,
know?
I get that, but you also there has to be like some kind of like anchor to our reality. You know, like no matter
I
how
feel like
far you go.
I feel like the themes are the anchor. You know, the themes are like universal. You know, kind of like obsession and playing God and stuff. You know, it's kind of like again, it's like it's not subtle, but it's like those kind of classic themes.
No.
It does feel like I'm like I don't know. Did you ever read Edgar Allan Poe stories? It feels like I'm
No.
watching an Edgar Allan Poe. What?
Like I mean, I read like his like.
You've
He
never?
was the guy that did fucking Raven Upon My Chamber Door, Nevermore. That guy.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I read it in like English class, but I never like went out of my way to like go. He wrote novels too, right?
I only read it in English class too, but like was
Okay.
it I mean that was like my favorite chapter was like when we had to read that, you know, because it was so just cool, you know, just like the mysteriousness and that's how you feel and
I liked
stuff.
Greek mythology. I liked the Iliad. I liked the Odyssey and stuff like that. Like that shit was dope.
I mean, all right, it's not a competition. I mean, come
No, I'm just telling you what I found more interesting.
on. No, I'm just
Like those were like those felt like superhero shit, you know? Like those were like folk tales of their time, you know, instead of some dude fucking chilling with a raven wondering what the fuck's going on. I don't know. I feel like bro had like
hey, nevermore. I mean,
motherfucker had schizophrenia or something. Go
Wait,
on.
with the character or the Edgar Allan
Both.
Poe?
Both.
Yes, yes.
You knew what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah. Didn't they find him like dead in an alley somewhere?
yeah. He was just like drinking. He drunk himself to death.
Yeah.
He also like was it like married like a 14-year-old. So, I mean,
All right. Well,
it's true.
So-
That's history for you. That's
yeah.
history.
So anyway, Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Anyway, you kind of go into this other world reality, and like, what is it? That's why I think the performance really works. And I also think that there is such like an intensity to his eyes. I love, kind of very comically, where Victor is like,
You're crazy! Crazy, am I?
and you just think it's like, yeah, man, you look a little fucking crazy, man. It's just,
I-
you gotta take it down a bit. Yeah,
It felt cartoony to me.
I
You know,
loved it. Though. I mean, what is it?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
I mean,
though?
why something that we talked about is that there's scenes that are supposed to come off as dramatic that I found fucking hilarious. And part of the reason why I find it so hilarious is because of like performances like that.
I mean, what is it? The otherworldly. I think realism is like overrated. I do love.
I don't need realism. I need fucking something to ground me. I need groundedness. Like I feel like those are two separate things.
Well, I mean, part of it is that what is it? All of his wife, his best friend, and his mentor are all there, and they're all looking at him like us, the audience, are like, you're fucking insane, you know. And then what is it? Like he creates the monster. He's successful. I mean, I don't know how it was when they were watching in the theater, but there's kind of like it almost feels like there's like a comedic punchline being waited to be had, because like it's like we're setting up this kind of like environment, and then like he's like, oh, I'm gonna show you this invention, I'm gonna prove you all wrong. And like if you're just watching this without knowing anything, which would be really hard, but if you're watching this knowing nothing about like the source material or anything, it does feel like it's setting up to the point where it's like the monster isn't going to come alive. Like this guy was just an insane person. And then the fact that it does come alive, and he literally goes like fucking mad, going like, it's alive, it's alive. They have to hold him down, you know?
And then they just fucking fade away from that. Like they just, it was it felt so weird. Like I mean, I guess it goes back to like the editing conventions that I was talking about earlier. Like things feel very abrupt and sudden, which I guess you could say is part of the style, but for me it took me out of it. It genuinely took me out of it, you know. I'm talking for me, you know. If it doesn't take you out of it, like that's fine too.
Well, yeah,
but
I mean-
I only have my perspective.
Well, that's an interesting thing to talk about, kind of like our perspectives on it, because you know, obviously this is just a movie that like I'm showing you, you know, and like you have
Yeah.
no other kind of context for it. I think I kind of speak just on my experience for a second. Like I kind of got from this like a very like probably the best way to watch it, and that I kind of got really hyped up in like the best way, in that like in 6th grade I had this research teacher who was obsessed with Frankenstein, like the book, and she was so just kind of like enamored with it all. And so she would so she had us read the book. This is one of the few times where I've read the book before I watched the movie. You know, I'm not like a huge book reader, but I read that book, and then we all had we all were given different tasks on like a research paper we had to do on different things about the book, and I got my topic was movie adaptations, and I didn't pick it, but it was just kind of perfect for me. And so I spent so much time just researching these movies before I watched them, kind of building it up like in my head. And then we saw them in class, and everyone when a teacher puts on a movie in a class, you use it as an excuse to go on your phone or just ignore them or just talk to your friends or send notes. But I was
You know, like a normal person.
Yeah, but I'm not a normal person. But I was so engaged and enriched, you know. And then I have become fascinated, and it's very abnormal. You know, I do get that. There's like kind of abnormal factor to the fact that I have become so obsessed with these old films, not just Frankenstein, but I've become obsessed with Dracula and the Wolfman and the Mummy. It's like a weird thing. Like I don't even watch that many movies from the 30s, but I've seen all of those films,
I'm sitting here
repeatedly.
scratching my head wondering how the fuck did you actually watch the movie? Because I've had situations where like we watch a movie in class before, like I watched Forrest Gump in school, we watched Citizen Kane in TV to get in the same classroom together.
Yeah.
And everybody's fucking talking and you could barely hear what's fucking happening. So were you just like that laser focused on the plot that it drew you in?
I was so into it. And then what is it?
God fucking damn it, Sebastian.
The teacher would tell us little fun facts, and she would point things out. Like, it's like, hey, Boris Karloff's name doesn't show up in the beginning of the credits. It just says the monster, And then it says that, what is it? The famous scene where, we should talk about this scene. The monster throws the little girl in the lake. She told us, she was like, oh, Boris Karloff hated filming that scene. She was kind of like, she's not a movie geek, but she was obviously obsessed with that specific movie for whatever reason. And so she knew all this stuff, and that really got me engaged. Let's talk about that scene. 'Cause that's a big scene. Because what is it? To just give context, the monster is on the run, he's on the loose, and then he's stumbling through the forest, and he just sees this little girl. They play a game. They're throwing flowers.
I don't think they need to play by play. I think they know what scene we're talking about.
I want to set it up, okay? Because I want to kind of go through it and then kind of ask you, what did you think of it? Because I want to really set up that this is a scene where a girl is drowned to death, and then I want to hear what you thought of it.
I think it's fucking corny as hell.
Exactly. That's why I
think it's corny as hell.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't know how you find that corny as hell. It's so dark. It's so
abrupt.
disturbing.
Okay, it's abrupt and it's inconsistent. Okay, there's a lot of inconsistencies with this movie. Okay, so in the second movie, we're told that Frankenstein does. Sorry, we're told that Frankenstein's monster, the monster, is not aggressive unless he's provoked.
By the way, Zelda isn't the guy in the little green dress either. All right, that's Link.
I'm the fucking video game guy here. What are you telling me that for? What the fuck? What do you think I am? God, that was so out of left field. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna cut that part out. Lost my goddamn train of thought, asshole. Inconsistencies. In the second movie, we're told that the monster, he's not aggressive unless he's provoked. And there's nothing that really provokes him in this. Like,
no, but that's the point.
He's throwing flowers, and then he's like, oh, the girl goes in the fucking lake next.
It's a completely innocent death. He doesn't realize what he's doing. Like, he just puts her in there. He thinks she's going to float.
He's also like fucking 3 feet away from the shore. Right?
It's a lake. I mean, what is it? She can't swim.
Fucking walk. How can is it that deep? Okay,
yes.
Whatever. That's fucking CinemaSins ding there, but whatever. Yeah, I knew what you were gonna say next. The movie's inconsistent in a lot of different places too. Like, it's inconsistent with his strength too. Like, he gets tied up in the second act and put into shackles only to like break out of them moments later. And like, there's so many times throughout these movies where he just chooses not to be strong and he lets himself get fucking captured or tied up, and then
does that stuff really
seconds
bother
later,
you though?
It does.
That's stupid. You're letting
how is that stupid
shit bother you.
How is it stupid?
Because it doesn't matter.
It does matter.
What is it? Are you writing up like
rules that need to be adhered to?
Are you writing his baseball card? Are you writing his stats and you're mad
Yes.
that you can't see how strong he is?
I'm not writing his baseball card, but I need there to be some sense of consistency here, right? Okay, we're in this fantasy world, right? We've agreed upon that.
Yes.
Okay, there needs to be a set of rules that magic plays by that, or else the fucking movie can do whatever it wants.
I agree.
And then there's no consistency.
I agree, but that's a stupid thing to get hung up on, though. Like, that's like a real continuity error. That's just like a small like.
It's the fact that it does it so many fucking times. It's that that Frankenstein picks and chooses when he decides to be strong.
Just sometimes he's fucking weak. He's only been alive for a day. He's probably tired at moments where he has the ropes tied up to him. He can't just always be breaking out his strength at every moment.
You're playing devil's advocate for fucking Frankenstein's monster right now.
How am I playing devil's advocate? What am I playing devil's advocate
You're playing
for?
devil's advocate for Frankenstein's monster, man. Like,
Well, I don't even understand what that means. Do you know what devil's advocate means?
alive for a fucking day, you know.
Oh my god, devil's advocate. Jesus Christ.
But yeah, that scene where the girl drowns in the lake, like it's just so out of left field. Okay,
It's
let me ask
fucking-
you
it's
another.
haunting, it's chilling, it's disturbing.
Does he like he realizes afterwards what he's done, right?
Yeah,
Like
'cause
he
he
doesn't
has-
see
he-
the girl come back up. He doesn't.
Yeah, he has a horrified look and he runs away.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like fucking 15 seconds. You don't think that with his long,
Well, no, there's
lanky
like a-
arms, he could just fucking.
There's like a jump cut, and we see that like what is it? Like there's bubbles, and then like there's nothing there. You know, so like we have the sense that it's like he kind of just he watched her and he didn't really realize what was going on. He's been alive for a day. He's been alive for a day.
It's
Okay.
like I feel like the movie doesn't do enough to like really like build out this world or this character of the monster.
Mhm.
You know, in the sense that like we talked about this before. By the way, we're re-recording this podcast.
Yeah, we had like a take where it's just like completely unusable audio. So
Yeah.
we're completely redoing this discussion.
Yeah, he goes and he gets okay. Fritz.
Yes.
Fritz goes and gets like the brain from the psychology lab, and, but he drops a normal brain and picks up like a criminal's brain.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, what is to become of this? And when we were having this discussion before, you even admitted yourself that like the movie just kind of like forgets about that.
No, well, to me, that's like a red herring. Like, I feel like that's like it helps. Like, that's like a thing where it was like you know, like I don't like saying like oh it's like of the time or whatever, but I feel like that was like for
Say it.
that was for the audiences of the time to kind of like help it make it more digestible. You know, kind of his actions. You know, but like to me, that's like a complete red herring. It really has no effect on the plot. To me, it's more about the fact that like he is just a innocent creature with like he doesn't know his own strength and he gets severely taken advantage of. You immediately feel sympathy for this character like during the scenes where he's being whipped by Fritz and Fritz is throwing fire at him for no reason, you know? Again, every time he lashes out in violence, it's like it's very understandable, you know?
Okay, I would argue that the scene with Fritz, where Fritz is just an asshole to him,
For no reason.
for no reason would make him aggressive not only to Fritz but like to anyone really.
He was
al-
like,
and
to,
also-
like, to like Frankenstein and
Yeah.
to the doctor and stuff.
Well, no, and then you don't need this whole like, oh, it was a criminal's brain piece. Also, the fact that he was
Like I
like,
said, it's a red herring.
he was pulled together, but fuck you, red herring. It's an inconsistency. That is an inconsistency along with the other inconsistencies that I already talked about.
No.
You can't just rule it off of like, oh, that was for the audience at
It's
the
not
time,
an, it's-
because I'm
it's
watching it
not an-
now.
It's not well. That's why I don't like to say it. But like I said, it's not an inconsistency. It's just something they don't really come back to. You know.
That
but,
is an inconsistency.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, I mean, what is
It's something that the movie completely fucking forgets about.
It's a red herring.
What the fuck? No, a red herring is when you're led to believe one thing and then something else comes and sweeps you out of you. That you're using
Well,
the
no.
word.
To be clear, red herring is a
herring
type
wrong.
of fish. But what I really mean is that it's misleading you to think that that's the reason the monster might be lashing out because it has a criminal's brain. But really, the real reason is just because society is just completely against this fucking guy from the get-go for no real fucking reason. you
I
know?
thought that the reason was that there needed to be a reason for the audience to think that he would do evil things. That's what you said, and that's
Well,
not. That's
I mean
not the reason.
that's it too. But also,
That is not. That's. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. The audience would get that by the fact that he's made from fucking dead parts, and the fact that Fritz was a fucking asshole to him.
Do you think that his dick also is made from multiple different dicks?
Yes.
Like so, like his dick has like stitching in the middle.
Yeah, like one nut from each dude. Like the shaft is its own dude.
No,
and
I
then,
think I think the shaft has like one like was it stitching in the middle of it?
Okay. And then do you think they went with circumcised or uncircumcised for Frankenstein?
It's a German village.
Or no circumcision for
Okay.
Frankenstein's monster?
Okay, no circumcision.
Yeah.
Do you think that like Frankenstein purposely made him hung?
I'd like to believe that Frankenstein made the monster's dick smaller so he could feel better about himself. So
Oh,
it'd be like,
really?
oh,
Well,
big guy, small dick, woohoo.
oh, I was thinking it was like the opposite. It was like, this is my creation. I got to make sure he's packing. I can't be going around with a small dick monster. I mean, come on.
God. That's an interesting theory. That's an interesting theory.
It's like this. That's not impressive. Like, oh, you
Yeah.
made a monster with a small dick. You know, what's impressive about that?
So the third act is interesting.
Okay, so yeah, the third act comes and
It's a great set piece.
It's a great set
It's a
piece.
great fucking set piece.
It's
and
kind of-
we
it's
were admiring the miniatures throughout,
Mhm.
and this is the most impressive miniature because you're trying to figure out like the sense of scale, and I
Yeah.
think that's what gives it a good miniature, or that's what gives it a good that's what makes it a good miniature
Mhm.
is that you can figure out the sense of scale. Like the flames look like the actual size they would be. You see the individual bricks fall out
Well, that's
of
in
that.
that's in the second one where the building collapses and you see all the bricks.
Oh, okay.
In this
okay.
one, it's the windmill. We see the windmill on fire and stuff. And like, what is
Right.
it? This movie kind of starts the torches and pitchforks, and we're gonna get the monster. Although there's no pitchforks. Funny enough, something he pointed out was that there's no pitchforks, only torches.
Yeah, where the fuck did the pitchforks come from as like the angry mob trope? I don't get that.
Also, the sets are really amazing as well. Not just the miniatures, but like, was it even when they go into the houses and when they're by the mountains and stuff? Everything looks very long and big, and again, kind of adding to the realism.
Like Frankenstein's cock.
Was yes,
The monster's cock.
Yeah.
I keep going back and forth from calling him Frankenstein and the monster.
No, it's the monster.
It's the monster.
monster. Was it the realism? No, the surrealism of it all. It's very much inspired by German expressionism. You can't talk about this movie without at least bringing this up for like a second. Is that it was a German expressionism in the 20s. Everything like the German movies at the time, everything was super elongated and like super like architecture did like those movies, the architecture just didn't look like how architecture actually looks like. Everything was super exaggerated. In this movie, they really capture that, but obviously this is like an American film. And then later on, Tim Burton would obviously utilize that style of filmmaking for his films as well. But yeah, everything is not only very kind of like exaggerated, but everything's so wide. And this movie has a lot of wide shots actually. It's kind of fascinating. Like a fascinating thing actually is that this is one of the first movies to show a roof of a room, because most of the time a movie was shot on a sound stage, so there was never
I don't know why you find that so interesting.
you couldn't show a roof, so
Couldn't show a roof, guys.
yeah, you couldn't show a roof. So but
Groundbreaking shit.
This movie's one of the first ones to show a roof.
First film to show a roof.
When we watch Citizen Kane, you're gonna get really fucking annoyed by all my little fucking things.
Oh, are there a lot
of
of roofs in Citizen Kane?
There are, but there's also a lot of interesting cinematic techniques.
What year was Citizen Kane?
That was 1941, a full
Okay.
10 years after this one.
Okay.
It's a very good allegorical story. I very much love it. But going into the sequel,
It's a story about a silly monster who does silly things.
I think the Bride of Frankenstein does is it's kind of the perfect sequel. It's like this as a template for sequels that would follow. Is that like you look at the first movie, and it's like a very simple story with simple characters, and it's a simple allegory, and then the sequel deepens it. It deepens the kind of like messaging, deepens the characters, deepens the messages, and overall makes it like a more compact and well-rounded movie. I mean, I'm not just talking about Frankenstein here. I'm also, in terms of other sequels, I think also kind of follow this trend. I would say is Empire Strikes Back, Spider-Man 2, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. All of them kind of do that thing, and it really starts here with this film. It's truly one of the great sequels.
The Bride of Frankenstein laid the groundwork for Guardians 2.
Well, in a way, you could say that the Universal monsters led the way for Marvel.
I can kind of see that.
It's a shared universe.
I can kind of see. Yeah, they were the first to do that.
Yeah.
I thought that it was more interesting to explore the psychology of the monster in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very surface level, as is the first movie.
I don't.
I
think the first movie is super surface level. I think that's part of its charm is that it's like a dark, simple fairy tale. But I think I do think that the second movie is pretty deep and pretty profound. in a much like I don't think you're giving it enough credit. Um, but
There's something I'm missing then.
so I did want to go through the plot a bit. What is it? Before we get to the main story, I do want to say it's such a fucking wild opening that this movie has. We see Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, and she's like, they're all like, man, you made a really cool story. And she was like, yeah, but guess what? The story isn't over yet. Story isn't over yet.
Yeah,
I
make
just
sure she
imagine,
doesn't fucking break her arm jerking herself off there.
yeah, I imagine just like, what is it, like Avengers Endgame starts off with Stan Lee and he's at his office, and then they're like, man, Stan Lee, that Infinity War comic, that was really good. It's like, you ain't seen shit yet. You ain't. Get ready for this. And then it
That'd be
cuts
great.
in on fucking Tony Stark and a fucking spaceship.
I thought it was crazy that they pick up right where they left off. You know, like
Yes.
that is something that I wouldn't have expected from a movie of this period. You know, but that's
Yeah.
something that is continued down the road of like, oh, this is just a way to start a sequel.
It's
I
a
mean, not
very-
every sequel, of course.
It's a
but
very direct continuation.
yeah, yeah.
Sometimes, what is it?
they feel like two halves to a whole in a sense.
They do, yeah. That's why they're very good to kind of watch together. And then, what is it? The monster's alive. He survived the burning building. He kills a couple of people. There's an annoying lady who screams a lot.
It's a hilarious scene.
It's a great scene.
It is
Oh,
a hilarious scene.
it was a really great way. First of all,
The acting is very campy.
it is. What I will say though is that in this movie, I think both of these movies have a bit more of a sense of humor to them than people give it credit for. I think when people watch movies that are really old, it is sometimes hard to make out what's intentionally funny and what's funny because it's like it's an old movie and like there's some conventions that are different from times.
Like the girl dying. That was fucking
No.
hilarious.
No,
I fell out of my seat laughing.
no, you didn't.
I said, play that again, because that was fucking funny.
You slapped your knee. You said
slapped-
"Hee-haw."
Yeehaw!
But I think this movie specifically, there's a lot of very great humorous moments that really play into it. One is with this woman, Una O'Connor is the actress. I'm sure you know her as the screaming lady who's screaming.
Dude,
in
she
every
wasn't. She
scene.
wasn't funny. She was fucking annoying.
I loved her.
That
and
was awful.
what's funny is that she was in The Invisible Man and she plays the exact same character. I find her just such a delight. I find her so.
She was fucking awful.
But anyway,
Okay? What service did she serve? Like
making me laugh, making me go yeehaw.
But is that literally was she supposed to be comic relief?
A comic relief. Again, there's a lot of comedy in this movie, but she is like a source of it. Yes.
Well, that's hard for me to discern.
We should talk about the best addition in terms of characters to this movie, and Mr. Dr. Pretorius, a man who's just oozing with charisma, has a deliciously evil voice.
Another overly campy theatrical performance.
But I love it. I mean, come on, you can't not love it a little bit.
I wasn't buying it. I was like, this is just more. I feel like he kind of like they needed another mad scientist so that way it fit into this universe because Frankenstein.
He is such a good contrast because Frankenstein, especially in the second movie, he is so filled with regret the whole time.
Yeah,
And
well,
this-
right.
And this guy
so
takes utter delight in everything he's doing. It is fantastic.
you know what that is part of what I found more interesting about this is that Frankenstein is actually like in grief of what he's created, you know, and he's actually like regretting his decisions, you know.
Yes.
He's kind of able to have like remorse for his decisions, and then they just needed another mad scientist in there, so they're like, all right, Dr. Pretorius, we got this dude
Pretorius.
whatever.
They spend so many times talking about how to pronounce his name in the movie. Yes.
We watched it a week ago. I'm fucking tired.
You
You thought that you think that one of the funniest points of the movie you said was like when he pulls out like the little people in the jars.
that was hilarious.
I don't find that I thought it was cool. I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting there going, "Damn, how did they do that in 1931? That's fucking
1935.
crazy." But at no point did it occur to me, this is fucking hilarious. I was just like, "This is interesting. It's wild and bizarre."
It's really just kind of like a great absurd joke where you're just like, I can't believe this is fucking happening. You know, where you just see these little people.
I mean, that's how I felt about the little girl falling in the lake. I was like, I
Jesus
can't
fucking
believe.
Christ! You won't shut up about the fucking girl.
Dead. It was.
We're already on the second one, man.
It was
all right?
it was my favorite scene.
There's a great little joke where he has the king and he has the queen, and the king escapes from his pod and tries to break open the jar for her pod, and he has to take him away. And then we see he's like,
What is with these play-by-plays, man? They've watched the movie.
I don't know, have you?
Probably. And I don't think people would watch this unless they have.
I'm asking them.
Then-
Have you?
Shut the fuck up.
Why are you telling them to shut the fuck up?
I'm telling you to shut the fuck up.
Well, you're interrupting them while they're speaking. All right, so that's a bit rude.
This is a horrible bit.
Okay. I don't know what the bit is. All right. Maybe it's a little bit, but not a bit. So anyway,
I'll strip down all these goddamn lights. I swear to God.
we kind of we take a break from Frankenstein. He's not in the majority of the movie. He's not in a lot of the movie. We take a big break from him. That's kind of like, what is it, for me at least? Like, I always have a debate on like which one I prefer, the first one or the second one, because the second one, like I said, is deeper and more enriched with like theme and meaning. But the first one has a better structure to it, while the second one is it's a kind of awkward, or it has like an A story with Frankenstein, and then we have a B story which takes up the majority of the movie, and then we cut back and we combine the A and B story for the third act. A little
That makes
clunky
it
there.
awkward for you? I thought it felt better pacing-wise with the A story and the B story. The lack of a B story in the first one is what made it feel like it dragged on for so long.
I didn't feel like it dragged on at all. But
Well, yeah, because you're fucking you, so that's... You have to-
I'm me, and there's nothing you can do about that.
Nope, there's nothing...
can't-
Yeah, but...
I like me.
So do I. I think you're a great person. I also have a set of eyes and ears, and I was watching the same movie, and I found it fucking slow.
Well, maybe I just gotta fucking cut out your eyes and ears.
That's violent. Maybe you ought to throw me in the lake like that little girl.
Yes, and see if you can fucking float.
Fucking 2 feet away from the edge? Yeah, I'll float. I'll be fine.
Okay,
I'll just fuck. Did they not teach people how to swim back then?
I don't know. Can you swim if I'm dunking your head down? If I'm pulling your head
That's
down?
not what Frankenstein was doing.
No, but that's what I would do. Also,
Oh.
Frankenstein's monster.
Frankenstein's. Shut the fuck up.
Link.
Actually,
Zelda is not the name of the guy with the little.
that's
green
not.
dress.
You don't need to tell me.
Is there another misconception like that that's like a famous misconception?
No, you're just fucking drawing comparisons that don't need to be drawn.
A lot of people think that Link's name is Zelda because the game is called Legend of Zelda and he's on the cover.
A lot of people think that Frankenstein is Frankenstein
Yeah.
because he's just been called Frankenstein for.
Well, you're saying that a lot of people think that Frankenstein, the doctor's name, is Frankenstein? I would have to agree.
You know what I
think a
meant.
lot of people
You know
believe
what I
that.
meant. You know what I fucking meant.
You know what's funny is a lot of people think that Clark Kent is Clark Kent, and I have to say he is Clark Kent.
I'm gonna take down all these goddamn lights, Sebastian.
The monster. Let's really get into the monster, and I want to talk about Boris Karloff here. He is just an amazing fucking actor. You know, watching him, there's just like a level of he had such an innocence to his character. It's so amazing, especially in this movie.
You know, it's funny. We
really
were talking about the monster's cock. You probably know what he tastes like. Sucking him off throughout this whole podcast.
Yeah. Get your head out of the fucking gutter, man.
You're the one that brought up the fucking monster cock in the first place.
I don't remember that.
That fucking rewind that shit.
Rewind it.
We got this shit on recording. I got you in 4K 3 times. Actually 2 times. One's pointed at me, but you know what I meant.
Do you think that his dick also is made from multiple different dicks? I think the shaft has like one like was it stitching in the middle of it? Or do you think that like Frankenstein purposely made him hung? Like, this is my creation. I got to make sure he's packing. Okay, so
Right in the monster's cock.
the monster we really see society fucking beat down on him big time. He just like goes through just so much. You feel so bad for him, and then I think was kind of the brilliant showcase is that it's like in the first movie, he's a baby. You know, he's experiencing life for the first time. He literally experiences light for the first time. And then
It's a good moment.
It is an amazing moment. In this movie, he's like a toddler, which means he can be easily influenced. And we see it first with this amazing sequence, probably like one of the most iconic sequences in the movie. It's him with the blind man, and we see he's like an an angel, you know.
He's a toddler that fucking drinks and smokes. That's crazy.
It's so funny. It works so well. Like, I remember, like I was telling you, like I watched this with like a group of kids when we were like in school. When that moment came on, everyone stopped talking. They were watching and they were fucking laughing. You know, it still works. It's fucking timeless.
There's one.
Yeah.
There's one moment. The rest of
he-
the movie they were talking though, huh?
He was it. That's great. And then you feel such fucking tragedy when the fucking guys come in. You immediately know what's gonna happen.
I did genuinely feel bad.
He immediately knows. You see it on his
Well,
face.
It's a great conflict because they're both technically in the right.
Yes.
They're both the people who just came in. They're hunting down the monster because the monster fucking killed somebody in the village. But the blind man is like, "Yo, this is my homie. You know, like we're dogs. You can't kill my dog." Like also like it's implied that the blind man has been alone for such a long time. You don't want bro to be lonely.
Yeah, no,
you know?
like we never cut back to the old man.
Nah.
But you like, was it his storyline ends with his entire fucking house being burned down, his only friend disappearing.
Yeah,
Man, that's
that-
fucking rough.
That is the best sequence in the entirety of both.
I
these
would probably
movies.
agree.
Yeah.
But then we get a beautiful contrast. We see him with the angel, and then we see him with Dr. Pretorius, who is just the devil. And we see him in like the worst light, where it's like he's in the cemetery and he's taking like, he's stealing graves, and he says like, he's like, "Oh, I hope her bones are still firm." Just the worst fucking, like the most evil
Like,
fucking
Jesus,
thing.
man. I remember like the person that he was taking bones from, she was like 19 or something like
Yeah,
that.
and then his henchman says something.
Crazy thing to say about a young woman.
Yeah, his henchman says like, "A pretty thing in her day, wasn't she?" That was all a little fun fact for you all. That's Dwight Fry was a Dr. Pretorius' henchman who also played Fritz. They reused the actor, and he gets killed by the monster twice. In the first movie, he gets killed. In the second movie, he also gets killed.
Yeah, I guess you can get away with that like back then. And
Yeah.
it's kind of, I feel like people were like less identifiable because it was black and white, or because
I guess.
yeah, I mean like we've had this conversation, but I feel like if I didn't have them like in costume, it would be hard to like pick them out in a crowd, you know?
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like, what is it, Dr. Pretorius? Like, if I saw that face, I'd immediately be like, "That's Dr. Pretorius."
I doubt it. If you saw him in full color and he was wearing like street clothes, bro was like in a tank top and shorts.
It's not about like the costume. It's about his fucking eyes. His fucking like evil fucking eyes. Yeah, yeah, like that.
Just like that.
I can make you out in the crowd do your eyes.
What does that even mean? I don't even know what you just said. I could make you out in a crowd doing your eyes?
No, due to your eyes.
Due
Like, if
to
I just-
my eyes.
Yeah, I just see your eyes. Be like, "That's fucking Ryan."
Do I have that? Do I have very identifiable eyes?
They kind of poke out of your face.
Your eyes sink into yours, fucko.
Hey, look, we all have our bodies, you know. We're all born with
You
our.
went there first, motherfucker.
No, I'm okay. Synced eyes. How do I synced eyes? I don't know. Is that supposed to be like a? Okay.
You're really thinking on this.
No, I'm trying to think of what.
That was simply just like I was like, oh, mine poke out, yours sink in. That
Oh,
was
okay.
what
I
went
was
through
trying
my
to. I was
head.
trying to think what the. Like, I don't know. It's an interesting comment. It's an interesting.
You're really digesting that.
I'm just trying to. Yeah, I'm just like thinking about it. I was like, that's. I don't know. Like, it's something. Anyway, so Dr. Pretorius persuades the monster to be on his side because, you know, we haven't really talked about the whole plot of this movie is that he's fucking creating a mate for the monster. Yes, that's the plot of the movie, and
She doesn't show up until the fucking end of the third act. Lame as hell.
they kidnap the Frankenstein's wife, and then they force him to create the monster. Something I love, just from a cinematography perspective, is that in the first movie, basically in the first and second movie, there's basically like the same exact scene where the monster stalks and kidnaps the Frankenstein's fiance. In the first movie, however, it's shot from the fiance's perspective, where we're looking at her and we only see him in the background slowly creeping up on her. And in the second movie, we see it from the opposite perspective, where it's from his point of view and we're looking in at her. Like, both of them are equally interesting. I think it's really, I don't know if it was intentional, but I really like that it's shot like in different ways both times. They have to help out. Frankenstein's forced to help out. There's a really eerie and disturbing scene where
Dude, they don't even need to watch the movie. You just tell them the whole movie right now.
Hey, look, I'm kind of going through it so that like we can talk about the points. We can
Well,
talk.
if you want to talk about a point, you briefly talk about what you're talking about. They don't need to know like every single fucking, you know? Like if
Oh,
you got a point that we can fucking we're just giving like this isn't fucking sparknotes.com.
okay. What if I go point by point and chop your body up in little pieces?
Are you just going to go into like this like horribly violent thing every time like I have something to say? Is
No.
that is the trend? I
No.
think you've done that like 3 times over the past.
I don't think I've done that once. Let's try it out. Let's test it out. Just say a criticism.
Say a criticism?
Yeah, just
About what? About the
anything,
movie?
anything.
Your eyes are sunken in.
Oh, I'll fucking kill you. I'll slit your throat, and I'll put you. I'll pickle you in a pickle jar.
You'll do nothing of the sorts. You'll put me in a jar like one of those tiny people.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good
God.
one. Okay.
I think that the final act is
Oh,
done a lot better. Than like the scene in the lab is like a lot more.
It's more fantastic.
Yeah, it's more diverse.
They spend more
and
time
can I
on
fucking
it.
talk? Jesus Christ!
What?
Like every time I start talking, you just fucking jump in.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go.
Yeah, I just feel like it's
Yeah,
done a
it
lot
was like
better.
really amazing. I'm sorry, go. I thought you were done.
You're a funny guy, huh? You're a fucking comedian today. Yeah, there was a lot more going on in this scene. Like there was a lot more with the set dressing. There was a lot more in terms of like these little like science bits and everything. Whereas I feel like it was a lot more like controlled and small in the first one. You know, I feel like I wanted more of that in the first one. It was like for like the sci-fi aspect of it.
I think a factor to it is definitely the fact that there's like obviously a budget upgrade between the two films. I
Oh,
feel like
definitely.
the first movie was very well made, but it was a low budget movie, and the
They could
second
pay
movie,
the extras for more days.
yeah, the second movie was so lavish. The sets are so much more lavish and creative, and then like what is it? Like they have so much like more money to like kind of do a sequence like that. Um, yeah, I also think there's more of a confidence from James Whale, the director, in the second one. You see a lot more interesting shots. Like I particularly love where Pretorius and Frankenstein are arguing with each other, and you see these twisted Dutch angles where like they have like these really cool, obscure lightings on them. It's a lot of fun.
Those are cool. Those are cool. I don't. A lot of people don't like Dutch angles. I don't mind them.
If they're done well, if they're done
Yeah.
sparingly.
Yeah.
Obviously, what is it? The obvious example is like the first Thor movie where it's like
Yeah.
every scene has a Dutch angle.
Too
I don't
much.
I don't really know what they were doing there.
Yeah.
It also served no purpose. Dutch angle should be like
Maybe
add
they-
suspense or something.
Maybe they were just using tripods without a level. Maybe
That's a joke.
it was
That's
just
the joke. People have made this joke before, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was the first one. I thought it was being original.
Oh, I knocked down my little
Yeah.
my little toy here. This is my toy. I got this. I don't know. Still in its packaging. Say hello. Hello. Funny thing to mention is that the monster speaks in this movie.
We're gonna ignore that.
Famously, Boris Karloff wanted what's it called?
He didn't want to talk.
He didn't want to talk because he thought it took away from the mystique of the character. But I think it really does add some dimension to it, and I love the scene where Pretorius first
Smoke.
yes,
Drink.
he first goes to Frankenstein. The monster enters, and the monster speaks. And then Dr. Pretorius says, "Is like
Yes, there have been developments since he came to me.
as if he's taking credit for the fact that the monster spoke, even though it's the blind man who taught
Yeah.
him how to speak." I
mean,
love little shit like that.
It takes on a whole new meaning when you learn that the actor died of alcoholism too.
Yeah, Dr. Frankenstein, not the monster. Dr.
Oh, I thought it was Frankenstein.
Yeah,
the
Dr.
Frankenstein's monster died.
No. He actually
No?
lived on to have a very long career. But
Oh,
Dr.
fuck.
Frankenstein, they actually was it famously the wife is replaced.
My bad.
I genuinely I don't know why the wife was replaced, but they wanted to replace the doctor as well because he was suffering from alcoholism. I think it kind of adds to his performance, his kind of like regretful, like kind of sickly look he has in this movie. But he died not too long after this movie came out, unfortunately. Very kind of tragic. We see the creation of the bride, and then we see her iconic look, which is something I need to mention, is just part of what makes the monster work is the fucking makeup. Jack Pierce did the makeup on these movies. He did the makeup on a lot of the Universal monster films. And he, like, the monster just looks so fucking good. It's such an immediately iconic, the staples on his head, the flat top, it's not what's described in the book. It is so original to the movie. But nowadays, you couldn't possibly make a Frankenstein movie without, in some way, at least homaging that style. It kind of puts a bit of a damper on like anyone who tries to make a new Frankenstein movie, because they're either stuck in either trying to go completely 180 from these movies and make something completely different, or they have to make something that's very similar, and then you have to ask, what's the point of making something similar?
Or here's a fucking crazy idea: make something goddamn original for once.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Please
Stop. Oh my God, they've made so many, like,
fucking beating a dead horse.
they haven't made a single fucking good Frankenstein movie since the 50s. Just stop making them. Although Guillermo del Toro is making a new one, so that will probably be good. But everyone else don't make anymore.
I don't give it. I'm probably gonna get a lot of heat for this. I don't give a shit about Guillermo del Toro.
Have you seen any of his movies?
I haven't been interested by any of them.
But you haven't seen them.
No, I haven't. But I'm aware of them.
All right, that's one for the list. One of his movies. I'd probably show you The Shape of Water. Probably. Yeah, very good director. Very good. You are gonna get hate on that.
I'm not saying that like he's good or bad. I've just never cared. Like I feel like he just like came out of nowhere.
Oof,
And I was just like, who is this guy?
You're walking on dangerous ground here.
I am.
This might you might not want to put this as his own little TikTok club.
I will. Watch me.
Yeah, but the bride also looks iconic. Her, like, was it pale white skin, her kind of mummy wrapping, her giant white veil, and then of course
So was someone doing that for Halloween.
Yeah, her Marge Simpson hair. It's just great.
If anything, Marge Simpson's copying her.
Exactly. Yeah. I wonder if they've done the joke on The Simpsons where it's like a Halloween episode where she's dressed like that for Halloween.
Oh, they have to.
They have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that show's
It's right there.
That show's still fucking going on.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
Well, man, they gotta have like, there's gotta be a day like of celebration when it's like announced that show fucking gets canceled. Just have a party on the fucking streets.
SpongeBob, I feel like, has been canceled like twice, and then they just are like, oh, we're making new episodes.
It's a very abrupt. What is it? The monster. He takes that lever that destroys the building. Like you said, it's a very good miniature of it getting destroyed. It's like
Great.
you see the individual bricks. Like, how do they even accomplish that?
It's fucking mind-boggling.
Yeah. What is it? I just love. Again, we're in a fantasy world. I love that there's just a lever that if you just crank it, it will just destroy the whole building.
Made me think of Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah, I didn't. Oh yeah, exactly. I didn't think
Always
that.
had that self-destruct button. Never learned his lesson.
Yeah.
You know what I didn't get about the ending?
There's like a Frankenstein spoof in Phineas and Ferb.
That's not how questions work.
What?
I said, do you want to know what I didn't get about the ending? And then you just kept talking, and I said that's not how questions work.
I just had something I needed to let out. But there's like a Frankenstein parody in Phineas and Ferb, which you probably didn't even realize.
I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you.
Good morning, Agent P. The mission you're about to receive may shock you. It may even horrify you. But then again, probably not. I mean, you have been doing this for a while. Anyway, sorry about the tarp behind me. Storm caused some water damage.
Of course you would know that.
Of course.
You want to know what I didn't get about the last part of the movie? I didn't get that he let Dr. Frankenstein live and he killed Dr. Pretorius. I felt like that was very out of nowhere. Like, if anything, I feel like he would have just, like, killed them both.
Because he realized that they were all, like, he realized the error of his ways, and he realized that this guy was a monster.
Who? Frankenstein realizes the error of his ways?
No, the monster realizes the error of his ways. Like,
that's what I meant, but
when the
I
bride
said
is
it wrong.
disgusted from him, he quickly...
This is going to be very confusing for people to listen back to, because I keep flopping back and forth.
To be fair, the movie also does a weird thing where when the bride is created, the Dr. Pretori says,
The Bride of Frankenstein.
which really doesn't make too much sense.
No.
If anything, she's like the daughter of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
But
The bride, they were married off screen, which I found hilarious because I didn't give a fuck about that plot line.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like how did he learn the error of his ways? I
He
mean,
really,
like,
she saw that she-
maybe okay, he could have learned the error of his ways, but how does that translate to the monster? Because the monster.
No, the monster's the one who learns the error of his ways.
Okay. How?
When the bride is disgusted by him, he realizes that like what he's been doing is wrong. He's a monster, and he realizes that what Pretorius is doing is also wrong. That they don't.
I am not following.
Okay, well, actually, maybe what
I feel like he was just sad. He was just like, damn,
Well,
shoddy.
I mean, what is it? He was given false hope that he was like Dr. Pretorius, I'm gonna give you like this woman, this maid, and she's gonna
Yeah,
be
I mean that.
like your salvation. He's
Right,
like,
that
"Oh."
justifies why he wants Dr. Precorius dead.
Yeah,
Does not justify why
he wants
Dr.
to live
Frankenstein should live.
because he
There's no reason.
no because they forced him to do this. He was an unwilling participant in this.
But I don't see why. Oh, like Frankenstein. All of it. Sorry, the monster is suddenly like, oh, like he's paid his dues. Like he's a fucking toddler, and he has that much of a prefrontal cortex at this point where he can like establish that.
In some ways, you could think that little kids are more wise.
You're gonna say
than-
some dumb shit right now, so just stop. You just shut the fuck up.
You know the ones.
I
who-
can see it in your eyes.
The ones
I can
who-
see it in the way that you fucking peer off to the right.
The ones who feel like they have lesser intelligence are really the wisest of us all. Are the most profound of us all.
Are you Shakespeare all of a sudden? Who the fuck are you? What the fuck is what is that? What the fuck is that?
It does. It reminds me of another line that Dr. Pretorius says, where like, the monster says like,
I love dead. Hate living. You're wise in your generation.
I think you're I think you've gone insane like Dr. Frankenstein. I think you've lost it. I don't know. I'm not tracking with what you're saying at all right now.
"Mad am I? I'll show you who's mad."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's yeah.
What do you mean? What am I? Okay. What is it?
Doesn't make sense to me. The last part doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. I guess it's got to be a happy ending, or ish for.
I mean, it's not really a happy ending. I
No,
mean,
it's not a
because
happy ending. That's
the
why I
monster
said ish.
dies.
I was correcting myself. Don't worry. I fucking caught myself. Like they had to let Dr. Frankenstein off the hook. You know, they were like, oh, like he learned the error of his ways. I personally, I would have found it more interesting if it's like, yeah, you gotta fucking live with your error.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he does in a way. He will always be haunted by these events. What's it? I mean, I would have been interested. Was unfortunately the sequels don't know like this version of Dr. Frankenstein. He's no longer a character in the later sequels. I would have liked a third one to see kind of what happens to his life after this, but maybe it's probably best that his story kind of ends here as well. We will probably talk about the other movies another day, but like I said, they're very distant from these movies, even though they're made in the same time period and they share some of the same actors. So, but we will probably check back in them because some of those are also quite good as well. But I think that's it for
Yeah.
now. I guess Ryan, I'd like to ask you, who would you recommend this to?
not a lot of people. Not a lot of people. I mean, if you're like a film guy, if you're like a film student or a film buff, like this is important to watch because it's one of the firsts, you know. And there's a lot of, I mean, in terms of like lighting and cinematography, it's fucking great, you know. The story is slow, and I felt like you kind of fucked up my expectations of this. I'm not gonna lie, because I thought that you were like, oh, you think it's gonna be like the monster's created and then he terrorizes the town and that's pretty much it. And there's a
it's
lot,
not
and
that.
you were like, there's a lot more nuance than that. And
There's so much nuance.
I didn't. What nuance? What nuance was
Because
that?
he's not just going around killing people. He's like an innocent, and there's themes, and there's deeper meanings and
Yeah,
stuff.
but everybody knows that about Frankenstein, is that he's a big dumb fucking baby who doesn't have brains, you know. I mean, he does have a brain. That's the whole thing, but you know what I mean. I I I saw what I expected, and I wasn't at no point was I really like, "Oh, wow. Oh, I did not expect," you know? Like it was just very
Did you expect the little people?
no, I didn't expect the little people. I thought that was very interesting, and I pointed that out. I found the second one a lot more watchable. It was a lot more watchable, and it helped with the pacing that it actually established a B plot.
What I would say is I love these movies. I've watched them so many times. In this year alone, I have seen these two movies 4 times. um, I'm absolutely just like enamored with them. I will watch them till the end of time.
That's unhealthy. 4 times.
Yeah, like they were for different reasons, but it was like one time I was watching them because I was watching like I wanted to watch a bunch of Boris Karloff movies in a row. One time I wanted to show it to Dom, who liked them. And you know what is it? He likes The Flash. So the fact that he likes these movies, I mean, shows that, not everyone's Ryan, just because you're born in this century doesn't mean you can't
Okay,
like
well,
older
you know what?
things.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I actually asked him about this. I texted him immediately after I dropped you off. I went, Dom,
I also text.
you liked Frankenstein? And he was like, yeah, I'd say it's all right. And I was like, you're wild. I thought that was fucking boring as shit. I was having trouble not falling asleep. And what Dom said is he corrected himself and he said, for the time.
Mhm.
For the time. To
Well,
which I would agree. It is great for the time. I'm judging it on the basis of like what I'm seeing right now here in 2023. The way that I've been very open about this is that the way
Here.
that I watch movies and judge them is on their watchability. What do you got?
Here we go. Here's this conversation. Did you like the Frankenstein films when I showed you? Yes, why?
That's not how he
Ryan
sounds.
didn't like them, lol. Why not? He won't tell me, lol.
I was very open. I won't tell you.
He doesn't want to spoil the discussion for the podcast.
Oh, okay.
But he mentioned he thought they were boring. I found them boring, but didn't mean I thought they were bad. Movies were just paced differently back then. When he said that, I thought, surprised Dom liked them, so I wanted to double check. I could say the same about Taxi Driver. Hell, even Blade Runner 2049 is kind of boring, but still a good film. So,
He found it I mean, that's what I'm saying, pretty much.
he still found it good despite the slow pace.
But he found it boring.
No, he found Blade Runner 2049 boring.
No, he said he found this boring too.
He found Blade
Let me see
Runner.
the text.
Okay, I'll show you.
Let me see the
I can't
text.
show you.
Let me see the text.
Nah.
Show me that part of the conversation.
I'll
You can hold the phone.
Okay.
Okay, so I go, he won't tell me. He doesn't want to spoil. I found them boring, but I mean, I didn't think they were. It's right there. It is right there on the fucking text message.
I didn't see that part, but also I.
You read it out. Are you out of your fucking mind? You read it. You literally just read it.
Ryan, sometimes you talk like this, and I think of that movie Misery, where she breaks the guy's legs with a baseball bat. And I think I could do that with you very easily. I'm joking, folks. It's the Halloween season. It brings out a different side of me,
I fucking hate Halloween.
That's so fucking great.
I'm more of a Thanksgiving person.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, minus the colonial aspect of it. I just like the food.
Food's good. Although, if turkey was really that good, you would eat it more than once a year.
Not as much the turkey, more like the sweet potato pie and like just having everybody around for a good old feast.
I do like that. I do like that. I always eat the ham. Family makes a ham. I usually eat the ham instead of the turkey. Anyway, so I would recommend this movie to everyone. Anyone who can watch these movies? I'd suggest you watch them. They are just fucking great little movies. They perfect, especially during this time, to get you in the spooky mood. I'd say get you in the spooky mood, and also expand your film diet. I think
I'm
a lot of people
losing
are
brain
too.
cells listening to
A
this
lot of
right
people are too scared to watch older films. Expand your palette.
You should be scared to fucking die of boredom, is what I'm saying.
Die of boredom. You're gonna die of fucking anteaters in your shorts when I put them down your shorts.
What the fuck are you saying? You're out of your goddamn mind. You're like
You're
so creatively violent today.
You're gonna be out of your mind when I take your brain out. When I cut your head open and take your brain out. I'm gonna do a reverse Frankenstein, tear you apart.
Oh my god. If you took 90 people, I'm not even gonna do that bit. We fucking said that last time. Yeah.
I'd say if you took 90 people, put them in a room, at least 10 of them would beat Ryan up for being a pretentious prick. So
How am I pretentious?
You like Joker. That's like the ultimate sign of pretension.
I think a lot of people like Joker. That doesn't make someone inherently Okay, fucking give me a real answer. How I'm pretentious.
Yeah.
You stand by the fucking Universal monster movies and you think they still hold up. That's fucking pretentious.
Universal monster movies, they're not pretentious. They're simple little goofy movies that I love.
It's pretentious that you hold on to something that was made fucking before my great-grandparents were alive.
They're fucking good movies. I mean, what is it? They're good movies.
They're boring movies.
They're boring movies. I mean, what is it? No, they're not.
It's 2-1 on that. That's what Dom said. You're the one that wanted to go down that rabbit hole. I'm just fucking
again. So
following
we
through.
can't take Dom too seriously because he likes.
Oh, we can't take Dom too seriously.
He likes the
We're gonna bring him
Flash.
into the conversation, and then we're gonna. So as soon as it doesn't fucking fit your argument, yeah, no, we can't take Dom too seriously. Man.
I notice how you
we
move
gotta
your hand.
throw that out the window.
I notice how you like to move your hands a lot.
Yeah.
What if I just chopped off your hands?
You know what? I noticed that you like to fucking talk like a dum dum.
A dum dum.
Yeah, dum dum.
Oh yeah. You like to use that
like the
tongue a lot.
lollipops.
What if I chopped off your tongue so you couldn't speak?
Watch Frankenstein if you want to fuck. If you want a movie that you can just turn off real quick and say, "Hey baby, this is boring. Let's mute this real quick." Yeah, that's Frankenstein right there. What up?
No, it's Frankenstein's monster.
I'm calling it Frankenstein now just to piss you off.
To be fair, the movies got a little confused too. Was it the
Frankenstein. Oh, look, it says right there, Frankenstein.
Yeah, like I said, like it's
Frankenstein.
No, Frankenstein's monster.
No. There's no apostrophe S. It just says Frankenstein monster.
No, there is. You just have to like squint.
For our audio listeners, there's nothing there. It is black after the end. Yeah. Watch Frankenstein if you want to fuck. Goodbye, everybody.
Well, that's not it. We also have to talk about our other monster movies. We have to talk about Son of Frankenstein, The Wolfman meets Frankenstein. We have to talk about
Bye,
Dracula,
everybody.
Son
Love you.
of Dracula, Daughter of Dracula.